welcome to All Steelers Talk, your home for everything Pittsburgh Steelers, presented by allsteelers.com.
What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackmine, joined every Monday and Wednesday by my main man, Steven Thompson. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. And today, the only thing to talk about, obviously, is free agency. We are about to hit the open market. The legal tampering period, or I guess it's called the negotiation period now, has officially opened. Free agents can officially sign on Wednesday. The Pittsburgh Steelers have plenty of names that they will try to bring back and others that they will try to convince to come to Pittsburgh from the open market. Steven's off to Dayton, Ohio after this as the Pitt Panthers head to their first NCAA tournament in 7 years. It is a great time for the city of Pittsburgh. The Penguins are making a playoff push. The Pittsburgh Steelers start free agency. It's a good time. But before you get on the road here, how you feeling, my friend?
Feeling good. Yeah, it'll be kind of a crazy couple of days. It was fun in the media room. We were learning Pitt's NCAA tournament slot, and then there was confusion about the time they were playing, the day that they were playing, but we figured it out Tuesday at 9. So, we're eager to get out to Dayton and see what they can do.
Tuesday at 9 o'clock. All right, so we'll talk plenty of Steelers here. But first, is Mississippi State good? Does anybody know anything about Mississippi State?
They're good at defense.
They
have like a top 10 defense, but their offense is not very good at all. So, given the way Pitt's been playing defense lately, that's probably a good matchup.
Yeah, I was going to say they beat Virginia, so that's and Virginia is all defense all the time. So that leaves you pretty good terms. Then they head to Greensboro to play Iowa State. Is Iowa State good?
Yeah, Iowa State's pretty good. I don't know. I haven't watched that much Iowa State. I think they're pretty good.
They're 6 seeds, so that's good enough, Yeah, we'll see.
It's
either way, it's exciting times for the Pitt Panthers. I know. I was saying this the other day. I've watched no college football, or college basketball, literally not a single other game except for a Panthers game this season. I've only watched Pitt. So I tried to make a bracket last night. We'll see what happens. I haven't decided on a winner yet. I don't want to go Alabama. Just don't.
Out of principle?
Out of principle. I'm just I just don't feel good going Alabama, but they snuck their way into my Final Four, and I was like, all right, we got to sit down and really consider this before we plug anything in. But Dayton, Ohio, tomorrow, 9 o'clock, exciting times for Pitt. The Pittsburgh Steelers by then will hopefully have some contracts in place, hopefully have more coming within the next 24 hours after that. Let's dive into that. Cam Sutton, Terrell Edmunds, Larry Ogunjobi, Robert Spillane, Devin Bush. There are plenty of names for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their free agency list, I believe, is 24 players. I went through them. I'd say about 14 of them are guys that they will contemplate bringing back. At least my list included Cam Sutton, Larry Ogunjobi, Mason Rudolph, Devin Bush, Robert Spillane, DeMonte KZ, Terrell Edmunds, Derek Watt, Chris Wormley, Miles Boykin, Steven Sims, Benny Snell Jr., Zach Gentry, William Jackson III, and Marcus Allen. Let's go through them.
That was your list of who you thought they were bringing back?
No, that's my list of who they will contemplate bringing back. There's other names out there like J.C. Hassenauer, which I think you signed for absolutely nothing. I think that's a very easy one. James Pierre. I don't think they bring back James Pierre. I think that project's dead. But that's their whole list. I have 9 of those 14 guys. I have 9 staying, 5 leaving. Do you want to go through them one-on-one? You want to tell me who you think stays? All right, let's hit them. Let's hit them a couple at a time. Cam Sutton, Larry Ogunjobi, I think are the 2 biggest names on the defensive side of the ball that I think people expect to be candidates to sign early. Do you think Cam Sutton comes back? Do you think Larry Ogunjobi comes back?
I think Cam does. I don't think Larry does. Cam's just the top priority. I think we've talked about that all off season. It's just one that I don't think they can afford to let slip through their fingers. So I don't think they will. I don't buy a whole lot of the Lions or the Vikings hype, around him maybe making a or them making a move for him there. Larry Ogunjobi, I don't know what I was not impressed with Larry Ogunjobi this year, and I know they need depth at that position, but I would just want to know what kind of number they're offering to him and what he's asking for, because it shouldn't. Cause he was making a lot more money than I think he probably should make next year. You know?
Yeah, the $8 million was way too high. I agree. My reasoning for him, I have him staying. I think it's a much lower hit this year. I think it's like a $4 million deal, 1 year, maybe 2 years. I just think that if he's willing, if he's not willing, if he's a guy that's like, look, I was supposed to get the bag last year when I signed in Chicago. It didn't work out because of a failed physical. I'd like to go try and do it again this offseason. He's not coming back to Pittsburgh. They're not going to offer him a big contract. But if he's saying, hey, look, I get it. I'm on the decline. I can't stay healthy anymore. I fit in this defense. I have a role. Playing is more important to me right now than making a boatload of money, which I'm never against a guy who's like, I want to go make the bag. Go make the bag, man. If I had the opportunity to go make millions and millions of dollars and I still got to play football somewhere, yeah, cool. I'm going to go do that. If he's open to a team-friendly deal, I think they bring him back on like a $4, maybe $5 million a year deal. Keep it very, very low. A somewhat of a contract where you anticipate drafting a guy, them learning behind Larry O for a year or two, and then stepping in. I've heard Gervon Dexter they brought in for a top 30 visit the other day. I think or they will bring him in for a top 30 visit. I think he's an option in the mid rounds, something like that. For Cam Sutton, I agree with you. I think he stays. I think the hype is there and it's real from these other teams. But unless somebody tosses this guy $12, $13 million a year, which at that moment, that team is nuts. Because if you're going to start the cornerback market at $13 million for Cam Sutton, James Bradbury is going to make $20 million a year. Darius Slay is going to make 25 on a trade at 32 years old. It's just not going to work out well in anybody's favor. But if you could keep it under 10 or even hit 10, if you could go $9-10 million deal and the Steelers just got to match it, I think they will. I think Cam Sutton loves Pittsburgh. He's got a family here, obviously. The Steelers love him. The secondary loves him. I think he is the piece of the puzzle. He's the long-term piece of the puzzle. You draft somebody this offseason, and then you say, hey, you and Cam Sutton are the future, and we'll find somebody else behind you, whether that's Levi Wallace for the next couple of years or Akella Witherspoon or whoever. But I think that I agree with you. I think he's an easy, yes, they're bringing him back. Those two should be no surprise. Mason Rudolph, Devin Bush. I think those are both very easy. They're leaving.
Yeah. I just think they'll get better opportunities other places, and I don't know. Just their time with the Steelers seems like it's kind of run its course.
Do you think that Devin Bush actually gets an opportunity somewhere? Do you think that there's a team out there that's going to, in the long list of free agent inside linebackers, do you really think there's a team out there that's going to go, we're going to pay Devin Bush a lot of money?
No, not a lot of money, but he'll get a chance somewhere. He won't, it won't be a lucrative deal, but he's going to get a fresh start somewhere. He'll go somewhere where, I don't know, just he hasn't built a reputation yet, I guess, and he can kind of start over. I feel like that's what's best for him and probably best for everyone.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely best for everybody. I don't anticipate at all that this guy is going to go out there and make a career of himself. I just don't think he's that type of guy. But I think he does sign somewhere. Or, if we're being honest, I've said this since the middle of the season. I look at Devin Bush as like a Jalen Smith type of guy, and I hope that he resurrects himself the way that Jalen Smith was able to this season. But I see it becoming a steady decline and then trying to rise back up. But I don't see it. I don't see him and Jalen Smith. Like, Jalen Smith always struck me as like a hard worker. You know what I mean? Wasn't that great. Asked for too much money. Kind of got screwed because of the injury. Devin Bush strikes me as I know who I am. I don't really care. I've already, made a boatload of money. I'm a top 10 pick. It is what it is. I deserve these things. And I just think that it is going to come crashing down. When it comes to Mason Rudolph, I think that's an easy one. I don't think he wants to be here. I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers want to be here. I think he'd go to the CFL or the XFL before he returned to the Pittsburgh Steelers and was their third string quarterback. And I don't see Mitch Trubisky leaving at this point. So I think those two are very easy ones. Robert Spillane goes along with that one, but I think we've both said that we think Robert returns to the Steelers this offseason. I don't think that's a big shock to anybody. I think the system fits. I don't know how many people are actually going to toss him a contract in free agency. Cheap deal, bring him back. It is what it is. All right, let's get into. Oh, you got something for Spillane?
No, just that one's kind of a no-brainer. I'm with you there. It's gonna be cheap. You need that position. You need depth at that position.
Yeah, I think the next set of question marks on offense: Miles Boykin, Steven Sims, Zach Gentry. So Boykin obviously didn't do anything in the receiving game. Steven Sims came on late, but he was the kick returner. You got Calvin Austin returning this season, so you have question marks on whether or not Steven Sims has the same role. You still have Gunnar Olszewski on the roster for the next season. Do you see those two returning, those two wideouts?
I would like for them to keep Steven Sims. I feel like he's a real valuable piece. Even with Calvin Austin back, like you have no idea what Calvin's going to be. Steven Sims won't run you a big bill, but he was a good kick returner. He was a valuable kind of change of pace and some speed in an offense that really needed it. I really hope they do bring Steven Sims back.
Yeah, I think they do bring him back. I have a hard time believing that they're just going to hand Calvin Austin anything. That just doesn't. Right. That's not the Pittsburgh Steelers way. So they'll go about it the way they've gone about it in the past and make him and Steven Sims compete. And I think Calvin Austin's going to win it out, but I think Sims has a place on the roster and worst case scenario on the practice squad. When it comes to Miles Boykin, I think they bring him back too. I could see a swap there. A Gunnar Olszewski gets cut, Miles Boykin comes back, just because those two did exactly the same thing. They were dominant in the run blocking game, like phenomenal. I got to give Gunnar all the credit in the world. That dude put on a blocking clinic this past season, but Boykin was right there behind him. And I think Boykin's their best special teamer right now. Don't think they want to screw that up. I don't know what his market's going to be in a really bad wide receiver market. So if nobody signs him, I could see them bringing him back just to like secure a job. I see Miles Boykin as a guy who thinks, look, at football is awesome. You got to be smart in the process, and I know who I am, and I think they could bring him back on a relatively cheap deal. Maybe get rid of Gunnar so they don't have a clogged wide receiver room like they did last year, but maybe they keep them all. I mean, you get 3 guys for all under like $5 million total. That's pretty cheap. What about Zach Gentry?
I think they do re-sign Zach Gentry too. I don't know. He's reliable. Good backup tight end option. You're not asking for a whole lot from him. And I don't think he's going to command a ton of money on the open market either. This one feels like just another get this out of the way early so that you don't have to think about it,
Yeah, I agree. And my outlook on Gentry is he's grown the last 2 seasons. He's a tight end, which most tight ends don't hit their prime until like right about 30 years old. He's only 26 years old. So do I expect him to be a superstar? No. But if everybody's looking at him and saying this is as good as he's going to get, for one, that's totally fine. That's a pretty quality backup tight end. And for 2, I expect that to continue to rise. I expect his ceiling to keep going up. So I think that he's the right move. He fits well with Pat Freiermuth. Kenny Pickett loves him. The locker room loves him. The media loves him. I think he's a good option, super cheap. I don't know anybody that would offer Zach Gentry a contract right now on the open market. And I just think that, when it's all said and done, he's just an easy, like, yep, come on, we'll give you whatever, and let's make it happen. Going to the defensive questionables here. Chris Wormley, who suffered an ACL injury late in the season, don't know if he's going to be back for the start of the summer. William Jackson III, who just got cut the other day for $12 million, could come back on a cheaper deal, according to Mark Caboli. And then Marcus Allen, inside linebacker, who, people like him, people don't like him, but he's played a pretty big role in Pittsburgh the last couple of years. Do you see those 3 returning, not returning? How do you see that playing out?
I really don't see any of those 3 coming back. Will Jackson, I feel like Will Jackson thinks of himself a little bit higher than the deal that the Steelers can afford to give him. And I also just don't think if you don't sign Cam Sutton, maybe we're having a different conversation, but I don't know. I don't see where William Jackson fits in. I don't see where, would you play him over Levi Wallace, even if you don't have Cam? Yeah.
I wouldn't even play him over Akella Witherspoon. I think Akella Witherspoon was here to be the one. Even when he came back from the hamstring the first time, he was the starter. So I think they have faith in him. And if you're going to pay Akella Witherspoon $4 million, or you're going to pay William Jackson $6 million, just give it to Akella and say, you could be our depth guy. Like, that's fine.
Right. Yeah. So, I don't really see where William Jackson fits in. The other name you mentioned, Chris Wormley, just they have other options. I feel like along the defensive line, and Wormley just it's just a piece that you don't need. I don't think.
Yeah, I agree. And then Marcus Allen. Let me get your Marcus Allen take.
The thing that sticks in my head every time I hear about Marcus Allen is him getting the penalty. I forget what game it was. Yeah, the Panthers game where he walked over to the other huddle or the other sideline or whatever and was taunting him. That was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. The dumbest penalties I've ever seen. So I don't really fancy myself a Marcus Allen fan, but
this is a public service announcement. Manscaped now has beard products and is going even further with their brand new Weed Whacker 2.0. Go ahead and tell the world the leaders in below the waist grooming are traveling north of your South Pole with their revolutionary grooming products. The Weed Whacker 2.0 and their new beard line confirms they have all the best tools for your hygiene toolbox. Time for you to upgrade your game by going to manscaped.com and using our code Steelers20 for 20% off plus free shipping. Gentlemen, meet the Beard Hedger Pro Kit. It is the ultimate package that makes it easier than ever to craft your signature look. It all starts with the cordless electric beard hedger. The beard hedger is tough on hair, but smooth on your face, leading to single stroke efficiency that brings satisfaction one stroke at a time. This waterproof cordless trimmer has a rotary wheel that gives you 20 hair cutting lengths, all with one guard. So, no more messy drawers full of extra add-ons. The Pro Kit comes with 4 dermatologist-tested formulations for your post-trim care. This includes Manscaped's beard shampoo and conditioner, beard oil, and beard balm to moisturize, style, and shimmer your new beard. Plus, the kit has 3 free gifts: a beard brush, a comb, and scissors. With a nice beard, your face is looking perfectly groomed. Right? Wrong. You need to keep an eye out for those tough to trim ear and nose hairs. The brand new Weed Whacker 2.0 offers improved blade and skin safe technology with no tugging guaranteed. It's never been so painless to mind your manholes. Now that you have your face looking great, you must try Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0 for the full body grooming experience. Good news. The Performance Package 4.0 now comes with the Weed Whacker 2.0 and all of the other below the waist grooming products Manscaped is known for. Your significant other will be delighted to see you covering all the bases, if you know what I mean. So, get 20% off and free shipping with our code Steelers20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. And all you have to do is use our code Steelers20. Always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
I don't know. Like you said, he played a pretty big role in Pittsburgh last year, and he's not going to cost you a whole lot of money. I just don't know what. I don't know. Is there anything Marcus Allen does that no one else on the Steelers can do right now?
No, there's 0 things that Marcus, except for play music very loud,
right,
very loudly. Look, I'm not the biggest. Actually, I would take that back. I think Marcus Allen's a good guy. Me and him, every time we talk, it seems, it's very nice. I've known him since college. Do I think he is replaceable? Very. Do I think the Pittsburgh Steelers adore this guy and think that he is a hard worker and somebody that hypes the team up and they kind of want that around? Yes. I think that if the Steelers made the Super Bowl, they would feel better if Marcus Allen was the guy waving the giant flag, running out of the tunnel first, hyping everybody up, than if they didn't have that guy. And I think that they want that Marcus Allen, so I think he stays. Plus, he's very cost efficient. I don't think he'll get an offer anywhere. The thing is that he's always going to be the 53rd guy on the roster. So, if he's not good enough, or if somebody comes in here like a Mark Robinson and shows that he's the next generation of Marcus Allen's gone. Chris Wormley, I don't expect to come back just because I don't know when he'll be ready. And I don't think you sign a guy that's about to be 30 years old who just tore his ACL and say, yeah, well, if you don't come back until July, that's fine. If you don't come back until October, that's also fine. I think you wait that one out. If they need some help heading into the season on the defensive line, if they realize that Isaiah Loudermilk isn't it, or whatever the case may be, maybe you bring him back then and you say, hey, come back on a cheap deal. I don't think he'd have any issues with that one. He likes Pittsburgh. I think he fits in well with the defensive line. And then William Jackson III, I think, is just gone. Like, I don't even understand how it makes sense. If you're going to draft a cornerback and say, you're our future, if you're going to re-sign Cam Sutton and say, you're our future, and then you have Levi Wallace, who's your second starter, you don't have room for him. You know, you're going to use him as a depth piece. But I just said Ahkello Witherspoon is a much better depth piece. He fits to the defense. He's been here for 2 years, so you know what you're going to get out of him. They trusted him coming into the season. If it wasn't for a lingering hamstring injury, I think he would have played a huge role even after the A.J. Brown debacle. I think that Ahkello stays. He's your bigger depth piece. I think all four of those corners kind of play a big role for the Steelers this upcoming season. If anything, I think maybe they get rid of Arthur Millette. I think that's the big one. All right, I got one more for you before we go to the safeties, which I think is the biggest debate coming, and that's Benny Snell. Did I ask about Benny Snell?
No, you listed him, but you did not ask about Benny Snell.
Yeah, what do you think about Benny Snell?
What do I think about Benny Snell? I think Benny Snell has value as a football player.
Yes.
And I think I just, how much are you going to pay? Like, I feel like he's of these kind of, out of those last three, I didn't expect any. I think Benny Snell's can make some money somewhere. And I think he's going to want to make some money somewhere.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, he's in very limited backup roles. He's been pretty competent. He like hasn't been, I don't think as bad as maybe Steelers fans maybe think he is.
Yes. Agreed.
And I feel like it's just not going to sit well with him kind of getting pushed down the depth chart. And I feel like he's going to try to find somewhere where he can play a little bit of a bigger role. And I feel like he's at that kind of point in his career where he's looking for something bigger.
Yep. I 100% agree. I think that Benny Snell is a very valuable 3-yard rusher, which is very valuable in the NFL. You know, like not everybody's got to break out 80-yard runs. If you could get us 4 yards as a backup running back, you got to feel very good about it. And he showed he could do that. You know, you stepped in against Indianapolis, literally no reps before that, and said,
right.
Yo, guys, I'm just fine. Just let me cook for a little bit.
Right.
He's very good at that. He's a very, very good pass protector. And one of the best blocking or running back pass protectors I've seen in Pittsburgh in the last 5 years. Very, very good. And he's a great special teamer. He is just like you said, he's a very valuable football player. If Najee Harris wasn't a much better spitting image of this guy, he'd have a role in Pittsburgh. But there's no point in him having a role in Pittsburgh. I think when James Conner was your running back and Le'Veon Bell was your running back, and Jalen Samuels was in the backfield in the mix and Anthony McFarland, you had a role for Benny Snell. Right now, you don't. I think another team is going to offer him a deal and say, hey, look, we could actually use you. You could be a backup here and run 4 or 5 times a game and play some special teams and catch some passes. And I think he'll go for that. I think he deserves that because I think like we both just said, I think he's a valuable football player and I do expect him to leave. I hope he makes some money. I think Benny Snell's a good guy. So I would be all about that. But I think that's an easy one for him. I don't think there'll be any ill will. And I think that he leaves. The big one here, DeMonte KZ and Terrell Edmunds. There are reports that DeMonte KZ and the Steelers have mutual interest in making a deal work to return. He's about to be 30 years old this season. Terrell Edmunds, on the other hand, is hitting the free agent market for the second time. Last time he waited it out. He was one of the last safeties to sign. Came back on a very, very cheap deal for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's back out there again. How do you see the safety market shaping up for the Steelers?
Yeah, I'm a little worried about Edmunds. Because I feel like they'll need him. I feel like they need him. I feel like they really should bring him back. He's just such a good player. He's just such a good player and a good fit, and I feel like he deserves a contract from the Steelers, but I don't know. I feel like he's going to, like you said, like he's going to wait it out, and I don't think he's going to accept I don't know if you can consider that a hometown discount, but he's going to get his money. I feel like wherever it comes from. I don't think he's going to be particularly married to staying with the Steelers again, just to stay with the Steelers. I think he's going to look for his money somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is a Juju Smith-Schuster type situation. You signed a team-friendly deal because you didn't have a market year one. You come back, you have a much better season. Although Juju didn't have a much better season, but the wide receiver market opened. You hit it the second time. And I think all it takes is one team to offer this guy a bigger contract than what the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to give him. I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to go over $4 million, maybe $5 million for this guy. I think somebody somewhere could say, hey, we'll give you $7 million. We'll give you $7 million for the season or for 2 years. And you say, oh, okay, cool. And I think he's gone. I don't think Terrell Edmunds is a guy that's here to stay in Pittsburgh because he loves the city of Pittsburgh. I do think he loves the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think it's anything other than that, but I think he's a businessman and he's looking at it and saying, look, this is a business and I got a better business offer, so I'm going to go take it. And I think he leaves. And I think the Steelers have an easier time with that because I think they keep KZ. And I think they sign KZ before Edmunds so that security blanket is in place because somebody is going to anticipate a team offering him a deal and them having to possibly match it. I do think there's a number. I think it's like right around that $5 million mark where they'll say, oh, okay, well, we'll give you that much money too. But if somebody tosses him just a little bit extra, there's just he's just not going to come back and he's going to go wherever he needs. And hopefully he continues to thrive. But I think that's the most shocking move that comes this offseason is I think Terrell Edmunds is gone and the Steelers are going to rock with KZ and Minka. And then I think they're going to have to go get another safety somewhere.
Where do you think that safety is going to come from? Is it going to be free agent? You think they're going to draft one? Where do you?
Oh, that's a tough one because I think that changes a lot. Especially if it's before the draft. Like if Terrell Edmunds signs before the draft. Last year it was right before the draft, and then KZ signed the last night of the draft. I could see them doing that again, where KZ's the guy, and then they wait it out and see what veteran is still on the market right after the draft that they could sign for literally nothing. I could also see guys sliding in the NFL draft and them saying, well, hell, man, Brian Branch is one heck of a player, loves Minka Fitzpatrick. They got a great relationship together. Why not him or Trey Dean out of Florida or, JK or JL Skinner out of Boise State, big dude, pretty much another Terrell Edmunds. There's some names out there that maybe they're like, maybe we figure this out. Maybe they move Arthur Millette back to safety, have him be that third safety. I don't know how they go about it, but I think that it'll immediately move the bar on their draft. Everybody who put out a mock draft of the Pittsburgh Steelers will have to rethink everything by the end of the week. I think that Terrell Edmunds gets signed by the end of next week. That's how quickly I think he gets a deal. Yeah.
And I think, not by the Steelers, right?
No, not by Pittsburgh. I think that's how Juju was. It wasn't the first week. It was the second week. He headed to Kansas City. It was big news. And everybody's like, oh, man, $10 million, whatever. And I think Terrell Edmunds is going to get that same little, oh, gosh. And then everybody's going to be like, oh, my, what do the Steelers do? Will they have KZ? People will completely forget about the 3 safety rotation. They could care less about it. They're going to immediately become Terrell Edmunds haters and just say, well, DeMonte KZ's our guy, man. It's our guy. And then the Steelers will find another guy and they'll have to move on. But I do think long-term, Terrell Edmunds was your easiest fit to put in there and say, you know what I mean? Like, we don't have to worry about the safety position for the next 5 years. But I think they will now have to, which, I think leaves some more upside. So I don't think it's all bad.
No.
All right, let's go to, oh, good. You got last thoughts on this?
No, just I agree with you on, Terrell Edmunds might be kind of a safe pick, but yeah, exploring the market and like you said, exploring that upside isn't a bad thing either.
No. Breaking news right here on the pod. The Cleveland Browns have restructured Deshaun Watson's contract, creating $36 million in cap space. $36 million. Meanwhile, I don't know if you saw yesterday, but Jeremy Fowler said that Lamar Jackson was offered $50 million a season and turned it down because it wasn't fully guaranteed by the Ravens. And that his counter offers to the Ravens thus far have all been higher than Deshaun Watson's contract. Every single one of them. I do want to finish this free agency talk, but first, real quick. After I heard that one, my mind a little bit changed. And I said, maybe this one's on him. I'm starting to kind of give in to the thought that having your mom represent you is a bad idea. Is it like, do you think it's hurting him? Do you think at this point it's just like, all right, man, maybe you got to back off a little bit. Like maybe it's for principle. I get it. But at the end of the day, you're losing a battle that you're not going to win.
Yeah. I mean, credit to him for really sticking to his guns on the guaranteed
Yeah.
money thing. That's impressive. If someone was waving $50 million a year in front of my face, I don't know. I feel like I would think more about that than,
Yeah.
because also, like, I'm curious how that deal would have been structured. You
You got to imagine it's in the 150 guaranteed range, the $150 million. So at least the first 3 years
you think
are
that
probably
much?
guaranteed. Yeah, Kyler Murray got 160.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Okay.
I would imagine it's right about there. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, $50 million. If you're betting on yourself, all you got to do is bet on yourself in year 4. Just be like,
Right.
okay, well, sounds good, man. We're fine now. Like
Right.
1 year. Yeah. I think maybe at some point you're just being a little stubborn and I think the thing that I'm starting to understand is that he doesn't have the arsenal that an agent will give you if you
Yeah.
represent yourself, because an agent will do the dirty work and your mom doesn't know how to do that. You know what I mean? Your mom
Mhm.
doesn't know how to get in touch with the Miami Dolphins. Your mom doesn't know how to get in touch with the Carolina Panthers or the Chicago Bears or the Indianapolis Colts or whoever and say, hey, let's start talking. You know, she doesn't
Mhm.
know how to do that. So an agent would do that. I think he is. I think he's losing some money. Stinks. People are still ripping on us for that podcast, by the way. Still ripping on us every day. And it's always like the same, like Stevie Baltimore or like Mike Flip Burgers in Baltimore. Like it's all the same guys. And I'm just like, these guys
Mhm.
really Lamar Jackson haters over here. They're just big Tyler Huntley guys. So shout out Baltimore. But breaking news, good for I guess good for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
You could create as much cap space as you want. If your quarterback's not good and you're paying them a boatload of money, you're
Right.
not going to succeed. It's just the end of the day. All right. Last thing I want to talk about here. We are talking free agency. The Steelers are 2 days away from diving big into the free agency market. Do you expect them to attack a position early? Do you expect them to say, this is our priority? And maybe by Wednesday, when that 4:00 window opens, they sign a guy almost immediately or like right before that?
I think one of those safeties. I think either KZ or Edmonds, if they're able to. Edmonds probably less likely, but I feel like KZ is definitely a guy that they try to lock down early. One of those, like, let's get it over with. You know, we don't want to have to worry about this one. That's the position. Those are the positions I feel like they go after first. Those kind of layups, like KZ, Zach Gentry at tight end. I'm trying to think of maybe some other ones. Those are the first
Spillane.
two. Yeah, Spillane. Spillane's a good one too. Those are the ones, I don't think they're going to try to tackle the big fish first.
Yeah, I agree. I think that you'll get the easy stuff out of the way. Boom, 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 real quick. And then I could see them having a little bit of a Mitch Trubisky moment where last year Trubisky signed like an hour and a half after the free agency market opened.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I'm going to bring this up because over the past couple of days, I've been trying to like look back at last year's free agency, and I was watching the Mitch Trubisky welcome press conference, and I was a dick in that press conference. I have to make it very known.
Uh-huh.
First thing I ever said to this guy in a Zoom call, I don't even know if he could see my face, but the first thing I ever said to him was, "Hey man, a lot of fans are not happy that you are here. How do you anticipate proving them wrong?" And he's just like, "Well, I'll show them. I'll show them that they should be happy." And like, it didn't work out. I was clearly right. The fans were right. But I feel like there wasn't really a need for me to start the question like that, to be like, hey, man, nobody really wants you here. Welcome to Pittsburgh. I actually said welcome to Pittsburgh and congratulations, and then
And then
followed that up with
no
fans are
one wants
not
you.
happy about this.
Mhm.
So my apologies to Mitch. Didn't mean to do that to you. I could see the Steelers doing a Mitch Trubisky type deal where the window opens and they already have something in place, and then boom, it immediately gets signed. I think that position will be inside linebacker. I think they'll probably have their guys, like a David Long, a Jeremy Pratt, like they're 2 or 3. Like, we want to land these guys for cheap. Who can we sign first? Like, who can we get a deal done with to kind of make it happen? Because last year, you got to remember, the Steelers went off. They went Mitch Trubisky, James Daniels, Miles Jack, and somebody else, Levi Wallace, all within like a couple hours. They just boom, 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 boom. They already had those deals in place. I don't see them, going that absurd this time because they don't have many holes, but I do see them like having their guy at inside linebacker, and if they could agree with the deal, it'll be like a terms agreed to, contract signed on Wednesday type situation, just to get it out of the way. Not have to worry about a cluttered market.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That would be a great way to start free agency for them. How big so at inside linebacker, where do you think they kind of go? Like how much are they going to indulge themselves, I guess, in the free agent market?
Yeah, I think, I don't know, David Long's Spotrac value right now is like $6.5 million. I think that they stay around that range, like that $6 to $8 million range, where they could keep their inside linebacker room under $20 million if they decide to keep Miles Jack, bring Robert Spillane in for like $2 or $3 million max, and then sign like a David Long. I think David Long, Jermaine Pratt are like the top of their list. I think Pratt is going to be number one just because they would love to get him away from Cincinnati and to Pittsburgh. If it could work out for cheap, I think that's their move. But I would say those guys, like the TJ Edwards and, the Tremaine Edmonds that are going to get a boatload of money, not on the Steelers market. They're just not. Like the Steelers are not going to go out there and spend $15 million on an inside linebacker and say, well, this is the most meaningless position in football these days, but we're going to spend $30 million on it this season because why not? We have a $10 million backup quarterback. Why not just waste money at inside linebacker too? I don't think it makes sense. So I could see one of those two guys, and I could see probably about the $6 to $8 million range. And that's a good way to finish this off. Do you see any splash coming? Do you see in the next week the Pittsburgh Steelers shocking us all, spending money where maybe people didn't expect them to spend money, spending more money on a guy that maybe they weren't initially planning on spending money on a guy, or we kind of anticipated they weren't going to spend money on a guy? Do you see the oh my gosh headline coming for the Steelers this week?
I don't, quite honestly. I feel like all kind of their focus has been pushed to the draft. I feel like any moves that they make in free agency before then will be they will be smaller. They'll be kind of, addressing small holes here and there, but I don't really think they're going to swing for the fences, especially early in free agency.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be boring. I think the most exciting thing might be Cam Sutton getting a little bit more of a deal than people anticipated. Maybe a different safe, but I have a hard time believing that one too. I don't know. I agree. I think that it's just like a very boring time for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I will say this. If they somehow come up with some cap space and they feel good about their cap situation at the end of the week, and they are like, hey man, somebody big's on the market and he plays defensive tackle, maybe they toss a bag his way and say, let's just do this. You know what I mean? Like, let's just have the most disgusting free agency line, our free agency of all time. But overall, I think it's going to be a very boring week for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think we're going to kill the Tremaine Edmonds thoughts early too.
Yeah. And I think they're going to get better. I think they're going to make their team. They're going to make some moves that makes them better, but it's just not going to be a real sexy kind of move or whatever.
No. It's going to be very mild. Last year was their splash. Oh my gosh, look at all this. Look at what's happening right now. This year, it's just going to be like, let's fill the holes with the guys we have. We have an offense. Our team's very young. Let's build. Let's get some draft. We have great draft picks. That's the splash is the draft picks. And I think that's how they're going to go. That's a good way to end this right here. You obviously saw the Bears-Carolina trade that happened over the weekend. DJ Moore headed to Chicago. Does Chase Claypool stand a chance, or is his career is he just done? Is he going to, I saw something the other day that said that from Mike Florio, who said that Chase Claypool could somehow end up on his third NFL team this season. And I was just like, wow, dude, ships sink fast.
Yeah. What third NFL team is like, who's clamoring for Chase Claypool? Like, I don't
know. I just don't see a role for him. Like, that was the thing. It was just like, well, he doesn't want to play slot, but he has to play slot now. So maybe I don't know. Bad news for Chase Claypool. That was my immediate thought was as that happened. I was just like, they really just didn't like him that much, huh? That they just went DJ Moore. They just said, screw it. Yeah. Feel bad for Chase, but I'm sure he'll find when you're 6'4", you know what I mean? You'll make it somewhere. You might be playing special teams, but you'll be just fine. everything will be just fine. All right, with that, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to find us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Subscribe to us anywhere you get your podcasts. Check all of our work out at allsteelers.com. And we're actually dropping some new merch, so we'll drop some links in the bio and everything like that. Steven's heading down to Dayton, so make sure you check out all of Pitt's work at InsideThePanthers.com this week as they look for their. Did they win 7 years ago?
No, I don't believe so. I think their last win might have been in 2013 or 2014.
2013, 10 years. Yeah. For their first NCAA tournament win in 10 years. Mississippi State doesn't have a chance. I don't know what the over-under is, but you hammer the under when it's a defensive game. That's just what you do. Anyways, check out all that work at InsideThePanthers.com. Enjoy your week. We'll be back on Thursday or Wednesday. Peace.